once again, everybody. The CFL season is basically here. It's June, so I'm coming at you with another season preview. We're talking Edmonton Elks today, and I gotta say before we get into this, I've just gotten back from the dentist, and I was unaware there was going to be some freezing done. So if you hear me mumbling or slurring a little bit, that's why. And I apologize for that. But when you get Edmonton Elks play-by-play announcer on 880 Ched and host of the Antler Up podcast, Morley Scott, you can't reschedule. So how are you doing today, Morley?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Oh, living the dream. Like I said, it's June. We're ready to get going here. Things are ramping up, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. Training camp's always long and grueling, especially obviously for the players more so than the media. But the preseason games are tough because there's so many players playing in it and everything. But it's kind of neat to go to practice this week and see so few players on the field because the cutdowns have happened and the first team guys are getting all the reps now, and you're seeing things you haven't seen throughout training camp, and definite some good vibes going around as we get close to the regular season beginning.
Awesome. Well, there's no one I'd rather be talking Elks with, and let's just jump into it. We'll be talking offense, defense, and just general themes of the team heading into 2026. To me, the theme, I guess, would be just continuity, right? After a complete organizational flip last year, right? Where you're switching head coach, offensive coordinator, GM, president, defensive coordinator. Now we're heading into 2026 where all those pieces are in place. So I would love to hear your thoughts on just the general vibe of the coaching staff, and have you noticed, just things operationally from day to day, have they seemed more just more free flowing and easier to come by?
Continuity has been preached by President Chris Morris and then GM Ed Hervey and then Coach Mark Killam right from the day they were all hired, all about a month apart. They put that in place, and it's kind of interesting. This is the first off season probably since COVID that we went into the past off season, and we weren't wondering if the coach, the GM, and the president would return the next season. They of course have continuity is a big part of it, and I think there's always going to be player movement and player change to rosters, but I think for the most part they're doing their best to get the core pieces in place and get them signed long term. What Ed Hervey did this year, we know what he did in free agency, obviously, but what he did with the roster was sign a lot of guys to an extra year, guys who had already been signed for 2026. Now they're signed through 2027, and I think that was very important him to start building that that continuity and the fact that this team's going to be together for a while. It's going to get better, and it's going to play better, and it's going to be together for a while. There's obviously going to be changes and
Yeah.
everything, but for the most part, that's really what he's tried to accomplish, and I think he's done it to a certain extent. Uh, we've got to see that carry over more than two seasons and it's tough to do in this day and age in the CFL with the 1 year contracts, but he's doing his best.
Yeah, 100%. And we're talking about continuity. I mean, you can start at the quarterback with Coty Wiles, right, who is back and ready to run things offensively. And I guess we'll start with the offense here. Yeah, Fajardo guided the team to honestly one of their best stretches of play once he moved into a starter since basically post-pandemic, which is nearly 500 ball for the last two-thirds of the season. The whole team's play for the last two-thirds of the season was much better than what we had seen previously. So I'd love to just start with the offense and what you've seen from Coty last season when he was starting. He added more than 65 yards through the air and over 20 net offensive yards per game in his starts compared to Trey Ford's. So I'd love to hear how the offense has looked. They've made some acquisitions as well, some added some more juice, I'd like to say, to the offense, especially up front. So, and then he got his, I'm assuming one of his favorite targets, Austin Mack. So I would love to hear your thoughts on the offense.
Yeah, it's coming along, and I think it's going to be a pretty good offense when it gets going. One of the problems I think they had through training camp, their leading receiver from last year, Keon Julian Grant, was injured and missed a lot. Although for the first couple of days of week one practices, he's been out there and he's been taking part, and he's going to be good to go on game one on Saturday. But Cody changed. He came in last year, and it was a different feeling for him because he wasn't the guy for the first time in several years in his career, and he stepped back and he allowed Trey Ford to take the team and for it to be Trey's team, and he knew he had to kind of step back to play a different kind of a role, supporting Trey and supporting players where he could. That changed when he became the starter in Week 5, but it really changed this year when he came to camp as the starter. When he came into training camp, he knew he was the starter. Everybody else knew he was the starter, and it just had a different vibe around it for him. And he's a great leader. That's I've heard so much about him from other players that way, that he's a great leader, and he's had a chance to do more leading this year because obviously he's the starting quarterback now, and he's in a position to do that. So first and foremost, there's a different feeling around the team
Yeah.
offensively because Cody's in charge now. They're waiting for they've got Justin Rankin ready to take off again, and Cody kind of put the pressure on him a little bit because he's been saying he's good for 1,000, 1,000 on the ground, 1,000 in the air. Justin says, "Okay, I'll take that challenge," and he's talked a little bit about it. But those are big numbers. He was
Yeah.
1,700 plus last year, so he was close. He's going to have it. I think he's going to have another solid year with the revamped offensive line, especially. They've got Austin Mack, as you mentioned, in 2023. Were that was a good hookup for over 1,000 yards, and they won the Grey Cup together. So they've got that connection. Keon Julian Grant also was with Cody in Montreal as well, so he knows him, and he worked with him a little bit last year here. So they've got a pretty good receiving core. They've added a couple of guys to it this year as well, some young guys who will see how they develop. But they've had great camps. Josh Cephas and TJ Luther as well, who was here last year a little bit on the practice roster. Now looks like they've both made at least to start the
Yeah.
season, the starting lineup. Because of the injury to Joe Robustelli, who hasn't practiced this week. And it looks like he's going to miss week 1 of the CFL schedule. So they've got some new weapons in place, but I think we all know the heartbeat of a football team is the offensive line. And they went out and they got those guys from Hamilton, including Coulter Woodmansey, who's one of the best. And they mixed that in with David Beard at center and Carter O'Donnell, who came back from the NFL halfway through last year and is just was outstanding last year. So they really beefed up the offensive line. It's going to give Cody more time, and it's going to give a few more holes to Justin Rankin to work with. So I think the offense is going to be pretty good this year. I'm looking forward to it. It might take a while for them to get going. It
Yeah.
might take a game or two for them to all get in sync, but they're going to be. I think it's going to be a pretty good offense this year.
That the offensive line is the biggest reason why I would think that they would not finish dead last in offensive points per game and net offense per game this season, just because of how much Hervey's invested up front. I mean, Fajardo was the most sacked quarterback last season. Now, that's partly because of Fajardo, but I mean, overall, the Elks allowed the second most sacks as a team. So, and then he went and picked his former Tiger Cat teammate Morley. He went and got Brendan Borner, Jordan Murray, Coulter Woodmansey, like you mentioned, and then he's loved the dip from the Tiger Cats. Brendan O'Leary Orange coming in, Malik Carney, who we'll get to, was
Taylor Powell.
Taylor Powell. I think there was one more I'm trying to find. Maybe Justin McGriff was the other one, but he was one of the camp cuts. But especially, I mean, Bordner and Murray coming in at the tackles, both finished top 10 in pressure rate allowed last season. Bordner in particular, a sneaky standout who over the past 2 seasons in Hamilton has only allowed 45 pressures over in nearly 1,200 pass blocking snaps. So, and then Woodmansey is going to maul in the run game, which I think Beatrice did fourth highest run rate last season for Jordan Maximic's offense. And they leaned on Justin Rankin, and rightfully so, because he was the true engine of the offense in 2025, the CFL's premier explosive play threat, led the league in big plays, missed tackles forced, and just total yards from scrimmage, like you mentioned, with over 1,700. Do you see the offense for Maximic now in year 2 continuing to just play through Justin Rankin and call a slightly higher number of run plays compared to the rest of the league?
I'm not sure if there'll be more run plays. There'll be more of the running back involved because I think he'll be coming out of the backfield a little bit more to take passes. But yeah, if he gets going, he's hard to stop. So I think
Yeah.
it will dictate. He'll dictate he'll dictate how many times they run the ball by how well he's running the ball that day. And if he's running well, he's going to keep getting. If he's not, they're going to swing it out to him in the backfield, or going to go with their receivers. They got a good receiving core, and I
Yeah.
think they'll be, the knock maybe on Coty Wiles is he doesn't go deep enough, right?
Mm.
And he's so effective and so accurate with those shorter passes. But I think they might go deep more than people think they're going to go this year because they've got the deep threats to do it. So uh, I think it'll be more of a game by game basis. But it's going to run through Justin Rankin. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think he's probably the premier running back in the CFL right now. And he can do so many things. He's a good blocker too in the backfield for
Yeah.
pass protection. Uh, you know, if you give him the ball, the thing they have to do with him when he's running the ball this year, he's got to be more consistent. And I don't want to pin it on last year's O line because it's partly him too. But there was too much feast or famine last year. It was either a big play or no play. He either got 42 yards or he got no yards. So many times he was stopped at the line of scrimmage. Uh, there was games. I should know the number because I've counted them up a couple of times, but there was like 4 or 5 games where he had like 10 yards or less running. A couple of games where he had no rushing yards, and he still finished with over 1,000 yards. So if he can get some consistency in the game, and he needs help with that from the offensive line, imagine the numbers he can put up, right? So I'm really looking for big things from Justin Rankin this year.
It's funny you bring that up because I wrote this exact sentence here. The team struggled to move the ball and convert on second down without those explosives. That's what I had put in my Edmonton Elks season preview up on the website, and it's true, right? Like you said, like it was really feast or famine, and now I feel like they've added with a more improved offensive line and the receiving core, which we've touched on. I feel like it's going to add some more consistency, possibly some more balance. Like you mentioned, they might be throwing a bit more deep and just throwing more in general and a bit more of a floor to the offense from game to game, down to down.
You
Uh,
mentioned you mentioned the fact that second down was an issue, right?
yeah,
I think that issue came from not getting enough yards on first down. They were in second and long too many times. They were behind the sticks too many times, and I think that put too much pressure on them on second down. And I think that's one of the goals that they've had this year with the offense is to be better on first down, so to put them in a more manageable spot offensively when it comes to second down.
yeah, 100%. And you mentioned Cody, bit more. He's definitely on the more conservative side of quarterbacks in the CFL, and I think Ranking is a great running back to have beside him. In terms of being an elite check down option and being able to pass catch out of the backfield at an extremely high level. Even someone like Isaiah Knight, I don't know how much he's going to get involved this year because he has Rankin in front of him and even Javon Leake, but throughout the preseason and even just flashes, he looks explosive to me. Have you noticed that well with Knight quickly?
Yeah, I have. I noticed it last year when he got a chance to play a little bit that he made his mark, and I really enjoyed what he did, especially in the first preseason game. He had
Yeah.
32 yards on the ground and 32 yards in the air as well. So yeah, he's a good option. He's a good special teams player, and he'll do his work there. But he might get a chance at some point. You knock on wood and hope it's not because of injuries, but he might get a
Yeah.
chance at some point to play in the backfield as well. And he's got that great birth certificate, right? So he's Canadian, so that helps out as well.
Yeah, the Canadian contingent on the offense I think has definitely the depth is there more this season. We talked about up front already. I think O'Donnell was one of the best guards in the league once he came back last season. I think he's fantastic. It's no secret that he's fantastic. I think he's a real difference maker. Someone like Mark Horty isn't even starting, Morley. I mean, I think the Elks have even Boyko, who I know is dealing with an injury right now, but they have probably have 7 guys who could easily start in the CFL now, up front. And even when we're talking about the receivers, I feel like they got a bit deeper at Canadian receiver as well with Zach Mathis, who's hopefully going to be healthy fully this year. He's another big target. Overall, the whole receiver core is pretty big. They got a large group. And then just for the Canadians, yeah, Keon Julian Grant, like you mentioned, Brendan O'Leary Orange. I love Carter Kettle. I think he's one of the more slept on prospects coming in. Into the league this season. Big time yak ability, and of course with somebody like Fajardo, I think that adds a lot to it. And then yeah, we talked about the American receivers. TJ Luther again, another speedy sort of yak guy who fits well with the offense. And we'll see what Robustelli and Cephas and the rest of the group, Hilaire, who's on the practice squad, we'll see what they can bring. Anything else on the offense that you wanted to touch on or felt worth noting?
No, you nailed a lot of it right there, and I think that's the thing. They got some great depth in their receiving core, both Canadian. You didn't mention Zach Mathis as far as the Canadians go too, who got injured last season. And I think it was in July. He broke his tailbone and missed the last part of the season. So he's back this year. He's heavier. He's a guy who really goes up and gets the ball. The problem with him, the landings were hurting him, and so he's beefed up a little bit to try and prevent any more injuries. So he's ready to go too, and he's like 6'7", so there's a great target. And I love what you said about Kettle and the yak ability with him. We saw that twice in the preseason games. First game, he scored a touchdown on a 58-yard play that he took to the end zone, and then in the second game, he made a catch in the fourth quarter that would have put the Elks into field goal position late in the game to tie the game, maybe even get a touchdown out of it, but it was called back due to a penalty. So it didn't count, but everybody saw it and everybody took note of what he did. So he could be a guy who surprises some people if he gets into the lineup. Right now, like every rookie, he's going to be a special teams player. But Canadians are good. The Elks have a good Canadian contingent. I don't want to credit the wrong guy, but I think it was Farhan Lalji who tweeted out the great line. He said on draft day, he said, the Elks could not draft anyone today, and they'd still have the best Canadian content in the CFL this coming season. They did draft that day. They got a couple of guys. Pace has been great as a linebacker on defense. They drafted Carter Kettle, and they got Jabome as well, who has a great upside also. And there's still couple of guys in the NFL that are trying out in the NFL that they might get an opportunity to see too. So they had a good draft on top of an already really good Canadian contingent.
Well, you brought up some of the defenders, so let's move over to the defense. I mean, well, to wrap up the offense, I did mention Mathis. He was the first one. I'm worried now. I might have stuttered with
Okay,
the
my
with
fault
the
there.
freeze. It was probably, or maybe there was a glitch, or But yeah, it's a big receiving core. And I'll be impressed to see. I'll be interested to see how it looks come game time on Saturday and for the rest of the season. All right, defense, where over the last 9 games, they were really good last season, or they were improved from what they did to start the year. 4 points less allowed over the last 9 games, 25 yet, like 30 less yards allowed. They were less yards per play for out allowed. See, there's the freezing coming in. And they forced 5 more turnovers than they did in the first 9 games. And they're virtually bringing back a large majority of the group that was flying around for JC Sherritt last season. And they've made a big splash in terms of Malik Carney, who has ascended into one of the best pass rushers north of the border. 14.9 pressure rate, topped the CFL in 2025. 62 pressures was fourth. 8 sacks was fifth, and 39 tackles was fourth amongst defensive linemen. I guess we'll start up front since I was talking about Carney. What have you seen from this defense from the front? I know they got some injuries up front as well. So talk to me what you've seen from this defensive line.
Yeah, the injury situation is tough because they lost Brendan Barlow with an Achilles. They lost Darian Newell with an Achilles. Tough for that kid because he
Yeah.
missed a year because of the suspension. Now he's going to miss another year because of his Achilles. And when he comes back next year, he'll be 2 years out of the game, and that's going to be tough for him to catch up. So that's just a shame for him and Barlow too, who is I think pretty underrated at what he does at that defensive end position. But they got Smith and Carney on the ends. Noah Taylor's getting healthy. He's been nicked up at training camp this year, and Elijah Alston's been sneaky good in training camp and in the preseason games. He's been pretty good. Canadian Silas Hubert as well. He's nicked up right now too, but he's also been very good. So I think they're going to be okay at the defensive end position. Inside, Jared Brinkman, so impressive last year.
Yeah.
He was held together by duct tape for a lot of the season. He was injured. He would make great plays and then he'd limp off the field. He'd come back in the next series, make a play, and then limp off the field when the series was over. But he's healthy this year and he's going to be a different kind of player. So I'm looking forward to seeing him playing healthy. And Jordan Williams, to me, was a real surprise pickup. I don't know the days of the week, but he came in. It was something like a Thursday, and he played on Saturday after he got cut by Toronto. And stepped in and played well. Didn't put up a ton of numbers, but really played well and caused some problems in the backfield for teams. So him with a training camp and a full year with the team, I think he'll be pretty good as well. So up front, I think they're okay. Tamari Fox is was really trending last year to be a pretty good defensive lineman. Then he got injured and was out for the season, so he's healthy now as well. So then in the back of all that, there's Noah Curtis, who got hurt in
Yeah.
training camp last year, missed the entire year. He's a CFL Canadian. He's a Canadian, and he'll be able to play at some point this year. I don't know if he'll be on the roster to start the season because it was a pretty nasty knee injury that he suffered last year. But he's been taking part in training camp, and at some point he's going to be a contributor. So I think they're going to be okay on the line. Robbie Smith has got to have a better year this year too. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, he had a situation where a lot of guys early in the year they got to the quarterback but couldn't take him down. They got their hands on him and he slipped away. Especially Nathan Warwick in the first couple of games they played BC. So they got to finish more so this year and cause more problems. A sack in the CFL, I mean, it's like ending a drive basically
Yeah.
most times, right? Because it's either second and long or you're kicking. So they got to get more sacks. They got 3 in the preseason and one series in the second preseason game. They were driving for the points. They had to kick the ball away, and then the defense comes out, got back-to-back sacks, turned the ball over, and that's when that penalty that I talked about that nullified the catch. They got a penalty, then they got the sack themselves, and then there was a pass drop. So they put the defense with a couple of sacks, put them in position to get something out of the game, but the offense didn't follow through with it. So I think this defense, you mentioned how much better they got during last season. I think this year they start at a much higher base and they're going to get better. They don't have Niles Morgan anymore, but that linebacking core is pretty good with Nick Anderson, Joel DeBlanco, and Kenny Logan Jr. as the Sam. So I think I think it's going to be a pretty good defensive team.
Yeah, I mean, and we talk about the continuity, right? Like this is outside of like you mentioned, like Niles Morgan's not there, and Jake Ceresna, I guess, isn't there, even though he missed a ton of time last season, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
But it's overall the large group that was with Sherritt last season.
When
Just
you look at the starting lineup, Carney's the only guy who wasn't with the team last year out of the starters. DeBlanco wasn't a starter all season long, and
yeah.
Nick Anderson was injured a lot during the season. But they're both great at what they do. So throw Malik Carney onto a defense that's already been improving, and it's going to get them even better.
Yeah, and just to wrap up, the point up front, I like that you brought up Robbie Smith because it seemed like heading into camp that, I know with Barlow and Taylor injuries, now they're going to be relying on him a bit more. So, and then I love Jared Brinkman as well, one of the best run stuffers in the league, and he's so disruptive too. So, it would be great to see what this front can do. And then, yeah, you started talking about the linebackers. I mean, yeah, between DeBlanco, Mogensen, and Anderson, like they got, a very solid 3 there. And then you talked about how well third overall pick Daryl Jabomi's looked, and you've seen the praises of Queens backer Justin Pace, who they picked up a little later in the draft. That's a good sign because they would love some. They've always had pretty solid linebacker play over the past couple of seasons, but it'll be nice to see those guys play off of what should be a more improved defensive front that should get more pressure on the quarterback with Malik Carney in there. Talking about the secondary, I really love the secondary. For one, I think Cordell Jackson and I guess Kenny Logan too. They both just fly around. Hey, Morley, like they just throw their hats in there and they make plays. And even like Garns, like those interior guys on the back half, I think are really what drives this defense.
I love Cordell Jackson. He was
Yeah.
the Elks Defensive Player of the Year last year. He just gets tackles and hits hard. He's. I think he was more. They thought he was going to be more of a Sam linebacker, and
Mm.
ended up getting him to. He played there last year. He started a couple of games here. Started at safety a little bit as well, but really settled into that halfback spot. And he had a great season last year, and he's the leader on that defense. There's no doubt about that. And expecting obviously another big season from him. But those 5 guys back there, and then you throw in Kenny Logan as well. They're all there last year. They all got to grow. I think the real find was when the injuries came. and they had to throw J.J. Ross into the lineup off the practice roster. And he got, I can't remember the teams he faced, but in his first 5 games, he faced like the best 4 or 5 receivers in the league.
Wow.
Eugene Lewis was one of them, and he just had that matchup for 4 or 5 games, and he shut him down pretty good, right? And
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this guy's not just plugging a hole here; he's taken over this job, and he's come back this year. He stayed in, and he's come back this year as the starter on that corner spot. So they're pretty good in the corners with him and Tyrell Ford. Coby Williams won the battle at the other halfback spot on the wide side. They kind of thought Jalen Williams and him would have a battle, but it never really materialized. And Jalen Williams ended up getting cut and not even on the practice roster. So, that's how well Kobe played. And then Jalen Garnes at the safety's been good. And they got waiting in the wings. They got Royce Metier, right? So
Yeah.
when he gets healthy after his Achilles from last year, he can come in, and if they want to move Garnes around at the safety spot somewhere else, if they're having struggles somewhere else, they can move him. So they're going to have options when Metier gets healthy again for sure. But yeah, I'm the defense I think is going to hold them in some games while the offense comes around,
Hmm.
and I'm really looking forward to seeing when both sides of the ball get firing at the same time and playing well. I think the Elks could be a pretty good team this year.
I'm glad you sang the praises of JJ Ross. I love JJ Ross. Size, stickiness on that weak side. It's what you love to see. And yeah, like you mentioned, he has stabilized that position. I feel like they had a really great group of American defensive backs in camp, and they've kept a whole bunch of them on the practice squad, right? Like Therese Reed is somebody who I think popped a little bit. Ladarius Tennyson is another guy who I think
Yeah,
popped.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they still have Jaron Joseph with them. I mean, Tyshawn Blackburn's a Canadian, but they have lots of depth. I mean, Leonard Johnson is also somebody who I think has shown flashes as well. So they had a really good group of American DBs, and they've opted to keep a lot of them. Hey,
Yeah, that is a lot of them. You're right. Maybe that shows you that maybe they're not all that happy, or maybe
yeah,
someone's got a nick or two that they're not talking about right now. But they do have the depth, that's for sure. That's one thing I think this team has over the Elks teams the last 3 or 4 years is depth, and we saw that last year. And as we talked about with J.J. Ross, and we're seeing it now this year with there's guys waiting in the wings, and as the old saying goes, they're on the practice roster now. They're not part of the starting lineup now and on the roster, but at some point, a lot of these guys are going to get in and get a chance to contribute.
yeah, 100%. Well, I think that just about does it. Oh, actually, real quick, I want to hear your thoughts on the special teams. Jake Julian to me is a fine punter.
Oh,
One of the best in the league, right?
yeah, he's been absolutely booming the ball. I mean, the first preseason game where there was no wind, there was a wind, but it didn't affect the game that much. Uh, it was 3 kicks for 65 yards average,
Wow.
or 56-yard average. Sorry, he's just been kicking the skin off the ball in, in practice. He's just been booming the football. So he's looking for a good season. He's already got. I found out this today actually when I was looking through the CFL record book that I got, the new one that I got for this year. He is now number one all time in punting average in the Canadian Football League in history. I think he's like 49.9 or something like that.
Oh,
But he's
wow.
number one. It says so. That's interesting. He's already got the record for best punting average in a season, which he set 2 years ago. And this year he says he wants to set, with help of his teammates, of course, the new net punting record. So that's his goal this year, to set the net punting record. His record for best punt average is probably going to stand forever, right? If he gets through
Yeah,
this year, because they're going to shorten the field, and with the singles
that's a
being
good
taken out,
point.
I think that record, if he gets through this year, that record could stand forever after this. So he's a great punter. Clearly, to me, he's the best. And he's getting so much better at dropping them where they need to be dropped now, just inside the 10-yard line or in a certain corner. He says working with Mark Killam has been fabulous for him and improved his game so much.
I'm honestly surprised he's still in the CFL, to be honest. He's had NFL looks the past two off seasons. Nothing materialized there, but he is back. I guess just to wrap up here, I think you could say there's a little less confidence on the kicking side here with Vincent Blanchard. I would love to hear your thoughts on the whole kicking situation and if you think it's actually oh, I mean, we just talked about the whole roster. Not much turnover across the team, and they've only gotten deeper and they've only added more talent. I feel like if you were to say there was potentially a weakness in this team, it could be with the field goal kicking, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, he had an up and down year last year. His rookie season well, technically he played one game the year before the final game of the season and kicked the field goal, but uh, uh, he played last year and he had a terrible first game. He missed two field goals and a convert. Missed the first convert he tried. Missed the first field goal he tried. Interesting enough that after he missed that convert, he never missed one the rest of the season. But he got hot field goal wise for a while and then faded a little bit at the end of the season. But here it is in a nutshell with him in the preseason game at home on Friday night. He hit a 48-yard field goal and missed a 48-yard field goal, and it's all about consistency, right?
Yeah.
And that's what he's got to get. And the Elks like him. They drafted him. The coaching staff's been working with him. They know he's got a powerful leg. He's a good kid. They like working with him, and they're going to give him a chance to become a really good kicker. And he's been working hard at it. I see him a lot of times after practice. Last year, he was out by himself, and he was doing a lot of work by himself to try and improve his game. So they have Jesus Gomez, who they drafted in the global draft, and he's still with the team. He was
Yeah.
2 for 2 in field goals, real good kickoffs as well in the first game played out in Victoria, BC. But he's on the practice roster, and Vincent Blanchard's going to get the start for week one. And I think they'll give him a couple of weeks to see if if he's found his game. I'm not even saying he's lost his game actually, just to see what the consistency is. He's a good kid. He's got a great leg, and he's got a lot of distance on his leg. So he's just got to harness it. And if they get some consistency out of him, then I think everything will be fine.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that because I'm glad you brought up Gomez. That's why I wanted to bring it up because, like you talked about with the American DBs there, I didn't know if that was signaling something or what you have it, but I think that basically does it. Hey, Morley, is there anything else you wanted to touch on before we get out of here?
Yeah, I don't think so. I know one thing the Elks have done right from the off season, right into the start of training camp. Mark Killam sent an email to all the players, and he told them, "Be ready for day one because we're going hard on day one." He is really focused on getting off to a good start this year. Go back over the Elks record over the last year it was 0-3, the year before that 0-9, year before that 0-7. They are 0 for 25 to start seasons since COVID.
Wow.
And that's they've been the chaser every season they played. They want to be the chasee for a change, so they're really putting the focus on a good start, and that starts Saturday in Ottawa with game number one, and then they get a bye week in week two, so before they have their home opener on June 20th. So if they win, great. If they lose, they're going to have to stew on that for a couple of weeks before they play again. So a good start is the focus, and that's kind of been the rallying call. I know talking to players at training camp, they were saying like coaching staff has really pushed that. Like we got to start well this season.
It's funny you bring that up actually. Just recorded the Ottawa Red Blacks preview today with AJ Jakubek early today, and he said the same thing about Ottawa and how they want to get off to a really good start too. So should be a fun one on Saturday. Is honestly
Someone's going to be ticked off come Saturday, right?
it's gonna be both these teams, like you mentioned, really want to start off strong, right? So and both have had some changes, so it'll be a fun one. Well, I think that basically does it. If you stuck around, thanks for watching, appreciate it. The season is here, so happy to produce more content as time keeps rolling on here. Morley, where can people find you?
Morley_Scott on the TwitX and on Instagram as well. And you can check out my podcast, which drops usually the day before every game during the season. And if you're in the Edmonton area, I guess not because of the internet, you can do it. You can listen anytime. I'm doing morning sports on our morning show on 80 Chat as well. So reach me there anytime.
Awesome. Well, great to hear. Thanks for joining once again. And that's been the Edmonton Elks season preview. Thanks for watching and take care.